The hills surrounding Seneca Lake and the town of Watkins Glen are normally absolutely gorgeous. This weekend here for Grid Life at the Glen, they've been hidden behind cloud cover and some drizzles most of the weekend, but this is our final race of the weekend, a little bit later in the day than we anticipated with a couple scheduled delays. But Greg, this is it. This is our final race of the weekend for Grid Life Touring Cup, our Power to Weight single class sprint racing series here at Grid Life, and there is a lot on the line for those up at the front.
You bet there is, and yeah, the hills are still beautiful. You just can't see them. That's the issue. But we have had 3 races, 2 of them in particular, in a very wet scenario, and the driving has been, for the most part, really superb. Especially the opening couple laps where all the cars are packed together, and so that's been great to see. We hope we carry that forward here. And for Matt Waldbaum, thinking about James Houghton with 2 wins in a second, Waldbaum has been on the podium and a win. This race could well decide who gets the winning trophy and the top points for this weekend, because there's a couple of guys in play for it.
Certainly they are, and the winners from the first 3 races, James Houghton and Matt Waldbaum, are going to start 10th and 11th. Waldbaum all the way back in P11. That is a big invert. And again, it is random. We do not adjust the rules for the conditions or anything of the sort, so that's something to consider. But Grid Life Live is powered by Hyundai N. Hyundai N, never just drive. And Falcon, the official tire of Grid Life Track Battle. So we'll get into the running order here in a little bit more in a moment here, Greg, but let's go through our Hyundai N track preview, get a lay of the land here before we get in to this 12 to 15 minute sprint race. It all started here in Watkins Glen back in 1948, the 6.6 mile street course, a couple miles northeast of here, back in town down Franklin Street, Greg, up the hill past the gorge, all the way to the stone bridge on the far west end.
Yeah, it just wraps through and around what is now essentially Watkins Glen State Park. It was too dangerous. There were injuries, there were incidents. They moved and created this track on the top of the hill. This was the layout that first hosted Formula One, then this development.
Yeah, the boot in 1971, that edition, then the inner loop in 1992. Since then, the only changes have been walls moved around, a little bit of runoff added here and there, but it's been pretty much the same, really, from what is now turn 1 all the way up to where the inner loop is. That section has remained unchanged since 1956. First run down into turn number 1, the 90, then a 110-foot climb up through the narrowing S's. The blue bushes close right in.
Really close, and you're really at max speed as you head into the inner loop. It's a very fast right, left, right flick, but you've got to exit it well because you immediately have to bend into turn 5. And look at the duration of these corners here. You're in them forever, and in the wet, you have to be incredibly patient because it's easy to push or have the back end step out.
The 2 corners in particular we've been watching in Time Attack and in GLTC, turn 10, turn 1, very fast sweeping corners that take you right to the edge of the racetrack. Anything painted, Greg, it is extremely slippery, and you got to keep your tires off as best you can.
Yeah, just stay clear of it, and that turn 9 is a diabolical corner. You turn into that and run wide at the exit, and at 11 as well. There are big walls just sitting right there, as you call them, the blue hedge.
All right, here we go, up the hill for our pace laps here for the final race of the weekend. Up in front with this 11-car Invert, Kevin Zhu in the 243, his first ever time starting on the front row alongside Luke McGrew, race winner this season. He's hungry for another. Yeah, second with the points coming in, Luke is. Then Jason Saney, who hasn't had the right tires for this car but has driven it well, gets the Invert up into 3rd, starting at the 73 Porsche, starting 4th, the 484 Corvette, Baton Rosenberg. Emil Tabb rolls off 5th in the number 374. Carlos Mendez, in only his 2nd GLTC weekend, starts in 6th place. 7th place is points leader, the number 3 Viking Corvette of Jeremy Swenson, having problems keeping heat in the tires, starting 8th, the number 47, and on form Ryan Power. Eric Catillas had a handful of podiums this weekend. He starts 9th in the number 82 Hybrid Racing EG sedan. James Houghton has won 2 races so far this weekend. He rolls off 10th in the 41. Matt Waldbaum starts in the 11th spot, the number 90. That is the S2000. He has been absolutely relentless on the track, won the last race, and has also had a couple of podiums and is just intense in his chases. He will start alongside in the 12th spot, the number 71 of Joel Morrison. In 13th place, it's Ronnie Vidoc in the number 99 DC Sports Integra. Colton Wade starts 14th in the number 18 car. Starting in the 15th spot, the 213 of Scott Robertson. Starting in the 16th spot, the number 42 of Zach Lavoie. Scott Heckert starts 17th. What a climb from the bottom of the order this weekend in the number 72. Paul Darling starts 18th in the 55 car. Starting in the 19th spot, the number 1 Corvette of Gary Wimble. And starting 20th, the number 17 of Tony Marchev. Had a big incident in the second race.
with a lot of help from the paddock, made it out for the third one.
Ben Morosky went around for a loop at turn number 8. He starts 21st. Austin Hurdle 22nd in the number 34 370Z.
Starting in the 23rd spot, the number 917 of Lena Chin, starting 24th, the 207 of Adam Wood.
25th place, Matt Corns all the way out of Canada in the Honda Civic. It's bright orange and purple, can't miss that one. Nick Steniford starts 26th in the 87.
And starting the 27th spot, the number 22 is Peter McParland, starting 28th, the number 767 of West Case.
29th place in his first weekend in Grid Life Touring Cup, Ben Thor, the number 166 Advanced Auto Parts Honda Civic. Thomas Moss rolls off alongside him in the number 30 515 car.
Starting 31st, the 363 is Donald Louis, and starting 32nd, the 777 of Michael McGinnis.
Lisa Keys rolls off 33rd in the number 32 Acura TL. Jacob Poole 34th in the number 88 Honda Civic.
And starting next up, it is going to be the number 2 of Eric Meadows, who's had a real problem getting on track this weekend. Great to have him out. He'll start 35th. Starting the 36th spot, the 333 was supposed to be there. That's Fiona Liu. She got involved in a late wreck in that one. Not her incident. Somebody spun in front of her. Car too damaged to go.
Tyler Pappas 37th in the number 24. Then Richard Sawicki, Nathan Manning, and Corey Mitchell will wrap up the 40-car field here. A handful of drivers have packed it up and gone home for the weekend here as they've decided not really worth the run here, the race number 4. Paul Curley was one of those. That's a big deal just from the points implications on the season, Greg, but hey, discretion the better part of valor on that instance.
Well, you have to do what feels right. You know, you don't want to go out there and just have that bad feeling and then push, press, and have something happen here. And there are drivers that they just don't particularly care for driving in the wet. There are other drivers that absolutely love it. It's just a personal preference thing, and you got to respect it. One of the things that this series is all about is respect. And respecting your competitors, and if you opt to say, "Yeah, I'm not really enjoying this," we get it. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Kevin Zhu is going to have his hands full with Luke McGrew, because Luke is one of the under a dozen or so drivers that have had any experience here at Watkins Glen International, and we've seen how Luke is so cautious behind the wheel. I've never seen him put a tire even into a blade of grass in my entire all my time watching Luke. Is Jeremy Swenson pulling in to pit lane.
Wow, this is a huge development. He is the points leader, and he's been talking about how he just can't keep heating the tires. He said he does everything he can to warm them up, and then it's good for like 2 laps, and then he said the grip just disappears and the car becomes downright diabolical. And I wonder, he's just pulling back into the paddock, so he's got some issues.
Well, he's collected points this weekend. He's not going to fall beyond maybe 6th or 7th in the weekend, so hey, again, risk versus reward.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a bunch of wins on the season. He's got an advantage in the points. If there's any place where you're going to take go back into the paddock card, this is probably the time and place to do it, Greg, because maybe Mid-Ohio will run into that scenario again, but this is a treacherous racetrack, and that was a smart call, I think, for Jeremy. He's got an advantage. This is what the buffer is for. Let's use it.
Absolutely, and I mean, you get 25 points if you win an event, right? So you tally up the 4 races and the highest point count, then is assigned 25 points. Well, he comes in here with a perfect 50, and Luke McGrew is in 36, so he's got a nice margin. And this might be, you know, the classic caution is the better part of valor.
Right. I mean, again, when you look at the scenario of his points, right, he's going to give up some by doing this, but he would give up 2-3 rounds worth if he were to get into an accident here, maybe even more than that. So this is a smart call, definitely a safe call here. Kevin Zhu, though, out front, what does he have to lose?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's here. He's only going to run a couple events with us this season. If he can hang on and beat Luke McGrew and steal a victory out of here, that would be a phenomenal win, especially because he's been around Luke to know that he's pretty cautious, and maybe he can take advantage of that, Greg, and get around him early and go try to hold him behind.
And he's improved virtually in every race so far this weekend. 15, 14, ends up 3rd or 11th spot in that, and just luckily got the inversion. So he's got an opportunity here. And you may be wondering, okay, if Jeremy Swenson, if he can get heat in the tires on the pace laps, and then how does that work? Well, the way you actually can get heat in your tires is by stomping on the brakes. You accelerate incredibly hard, get on the brakes, and the heat from the rotors comes up through the metal rims and heats the tire inside out, as opposed to surface heat that you would get by scrubbing on the track. And so you can get that, but once you go to racing at this track in the wet, last thing you're doing is stomping on the binders. You're being very smooth and gentle, and suddenly you're not generating heat through the brakes. and there's no grip there for you to be getting the tires warm by surface friction. So it's a lose-lose situation. And if and he said the car really felt scary after lap 2. If it feels that bad, park it. Right move. That's how you win championships.
Certainly. I noticed that Kevin Zhu took driver's right. As the leader, you have the choice.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because most of the weekend, the leader, the pole sitter, has chosen driver's left because it puts you out off the line for turn 1. Now, why would you want to be offline? Well, Greg, it's wet. That's where the grip is. So I wonder if there's an experience factor here. Kevin Zhu's never started up front before, automatically took the inside, maybe not thinking about how slippery it can be down there. But maybe there's another side to that, because if you're on driver's left and you're still side by side when you leave the corner, that paint on that rumble strip is mighty slippery. So if you get stuck on driver's left, you can get yourself into trouble. Maybe that's the thought there for Kevin Zhu.
Well, and you know what? There's the other aspect here. Obviously, you've got the Corvette alongside of Luke McGrew. It's got good power, got good torque coming out of 11, but also easy to spin the tires up, right, if he goes to throttle. Kevin's car is a front-wheel drive car, and so he might be able to get a little bit better acceleration run, and maybe he's thinking if Luke spins the tires up and he gets a little gain, he can then swing over in front. But if Luke comes alongside, he can go down the inside still with that front-wheel drive car and maybe be able to pop out on the other side. I mean, these are all the machinations that these drivers go through in their minds about, how, what's my plan at the start?
We've got onboards for Matt Waldbaum and Eric Gittil in the Hybrid Racing EG. Will ride on board with their wild ride. They're going to start 8th and 10th respectively. Final race of the weekend. This is going to be a little bit of a short one, Greg. We're running out of track time here.
Yep.
So I think our checkered flag time is going to be about 10 minutes from now. So not a lot of laps, not a lot of opportunity to move your way forward. 11-car invert in this final race of the weekend. The third round of Grid Life Touring Cup in 2023. We kick it all off in Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas, then South Carolina at Carolina Motorsports Park, then up to the southern tip of Seneca Lake to Watkins Glen International. It has been a dreary and wet weekend, but we have one more race to race. Green flag flies and we're racing again at Watkins Glen International. Kevin Zhu, drag race in the number 7, McGrew down to turn 1. Later on the brakes is the 243. Look at Sadie, middle 3 wide. That's the 484 on the outside. It's going to get tight here with the curbing. Look out. Very slippery, slidey stuff. And the 14 of Mendez has nowhere to go, packed in behind Rosenberg on the curbs.
Yeah, and you can see that Matan, once he got up on that curb, he just had to wait, and lost a couple of spots as a result. But if he'd gone to the throttle, he'd have snapped around and maybe caused a big incident. Really smart driving there by Matan. But I'll tell you what, McGrew, technically when he crossed the line, was out front, but Zhu played that to perfection down into turn 1.
And he got away with it. McGrew leads down towards the bus stop for the first time. One car way inside. Is that Mendez in the BMW trying to make up some spots? Saney slots into 3rd, Tab into 4th, and Mendez was side by side. Was that with power? Yes, in the BMW, and he's through into 5th place.
And Jason Saney has done a lot of pro racing in his day. It's been a while, but he was one of the top guys in the World Challenge Touring class, touring car category back in its glory era. And he's got a lot of experience here, but they haven't been able to get the right tires on that Cayman. And as you can see, he just lost a couple of spots there. That was a monster run by Emil Tab.
Yeah, Mendez is looking really, really quick as well. Look at Eric Gittil following Ronnie Vidoc around the outside at turn 6. And look at the 73 of 73 of Saini has dropped back a position and moved the 14 of Mendez past as we go back up to the lead. Zhu tracking down McGrew. Look at this, side by side into the toe of the boot.
Yeah, two different cars, battles going on side by side, and one of them looked like he was going in really hot on the inside, and that could be a problem, but everybody reining it in and getting around and completing. This is impressive.
Scott Heckert was absolutely wheeling that thing down at the exit of turn 7, had that thing up and sideways. He might be in the top 15 already with his climb forward of that bright yellow Corvette. Looks like Gittil has gotten by Sadie now, drops the Cayman down a whole bunch of spots on this lap. Started the lap 3rd, he's going to come out 8th or 9th.
We talked about Heckert's run in the 3rd race, how good it was. How good was it, folks? Started 47th, finished 20th. He made up 37 spots in that race, or 30 spots. Really impressive stuff for Heckert.
One car took the shortcut there, the NASCAR shortcut. They're going to stay there, trying to just get out of the way if there's damage or something, but good spot to stay. Ronnie Vidoc hounding Mendez, and Gittil's right in the mix now. The 2 front-wheel drive cars right on the rear bumper of the BMW, and for the lead, Kevin Zhu is keeping McGrew honest here as they complete the first lap.
Yeah, and Vidoc started in the 13th spot. I think he might be in the 5th spot as they come through here. Where does he clock through? Yeah, 5th for Vidoc.
Wow.
So just an absolutely scorching opening lap for Ronnie Vidoc as we watch the 2 leaders here, and Emil Tab just staying right in the hunt here. Waldbaum up from 11th to 7th.
Yeah, Mendez, a little bit of the cork in the bottle here. The pressure is building behind him with Vidoc and Catil. Then it's Waldbaum Power. Then it's Saney, and then James Houghton is inside the top 10 as well. Remember, he won 2 races early in the weekend. It's not an automatic win on the weekend. You still have to perform in this last and final race.
Yeah, Waldbaum had podiums as well. And let's not forget that Catil has had 3 podiums as well. So it isn't a given for James Houghton. If he can lock onto the back of Waldbaum and be right with him, it's probably would be good enough, but he has to understand that, and right now he's lost a couple of spots relative to Waldbaum.
Mendez is broken away on the straightaway again from Vidoc, but he runs him right back down in the background. Scott Heckert in the yellow Corvette slides across the nose of Scott Robertson there and is chasing the number 484 of Matan Rosenberg. You see Joel Morrison given a point by to, I think, is that the 22 of McParland, or maybe that's the 17 of blanking right now.
Oh yeah,
why am I struggling with this?
I know, it's ridiculous. Tony Marchev, who had that issue early. Yeah. No, I'm with you. And it was interesting because when Heckert went across the nose of Robertson there, Robertson, I don't know whether it was he had to get off of the gas and the nose dived in the back out light or whatever, but then he had a big wiggle, did a brilliant job to save it, but he's under attack again into the toe.
Car slow at turn 7. I think it was Vidoc, didn't make it up the hill, so he's going to drop out of that mix. Catil up behind the 14 car. Didn't get a good look at what happened there, but he was just slow and then pulled way to the inside. Not sure if he was out of power or what, but certainly some issues for the number 99 DC Sports Integra as Catil now works over the 14 of Mendez, and for the lead it's getting tighter. McGrew, Zoo, and Tab under a blanket here.
And Waldbaum has now moved up as a result of the problem by Vidoc into the 6th spot, but James Houghton has worked his way around Power and Saney. He's now 7th, and that's where he really wants to be. And Catil, man, he is just going to be relentless in this attack right now on Mendez.
Watch the footwork here. He's got the pedal all the way to the round. Look at the outside pass into turn 11. What a move by Eric Catil. Throttles back up and around. He's got the pass done up to 4th place. What a drive there as Waldbaum's in the mix. And here comes Emil Tab for 2nd place, looking at Zoo, but Zoo put the defense on down into turn 1.
Yeah, and the one thing that Catil never did there was telegraph what he was doing until he made the move. And I'll tell you, Mendez had no clue that he was going to be coming around the outside with that pace. That was impressive.
The leaders are still bunched up very tight heading up the hill, and Emil Tab, now with the confidence building, is all over the back of the 243, but Zoo closes on McGrew, that front drive Civic, clinging to the road a lot better here through the S's, and it is a battle at the front here between 3 very different cars, Greg.
And now, what's going to be fascinating to me is now that Catil has some clear track and no traffic, what is he going to be able to do now in terms of some pace? Will he be able to run down that trio up front? That's going to be the fascinating story. Waldbaum at the fastest lap of the race on that last lap. What a job he's doing in that rear-wheel drive car this entire weekend with just remarkable speed in these conditions.
He's got Houghton right behind him. Let's factor in also that we have a weekend championship to decide, and Houghton is there, hounding Waldbaum out of turn 5.
Goes down to the inside. That's not always where the most grip is, obviously, but I think he was saying, look, I'm here. I'm not just going to give you this one. And Catil is definitely closing on the back of that leading trio right now. He's running them down in a hurry, and Waldbaum stayed in front of Houghton, but the question is for how long?
Eric Catil is all over the back of this 3-car race for the lead here at Watkins Glen International. It is game on. It's a 4-horse race for first place. Eric Catil has caught Emil Tab, and he's looking to the inside, down the back straightaway towards turn number 8. Another podium perhaps on the horizon for the 82, but he backs out now into turn 8.
Just wasn't quite close enough. And I'll tell you, Emil, in that Mazda, that car is so immaculately balanced. And it's got a nice power-to-weight ratio. Everything works on that car. It's rear drive, but it just handles so incredibly well. But look at Catil now going to the outside once again. Going to do the over-under, maybe?
He's going to try as they come around turn number 10 and 11. I see a checkered in the hands of Adam Jabay.
And Catil had the overlap, sorry.
We could be coming back to the checkered this time, Greg, which would mean this is the last corner. It is in hand. Final turn here in GLTC race number 4. In overtime, we're coming back to the stripe. Checkered flag, Luke McGrew out of Hurricane, West Virginia. Checkered flag, he hangs on by 2 car lengths over Kevin Zoo. Emil Tab 3rd, Eric Catil in 4th, and Waldbaum, Houghton 5th and 6th. as it looks like Mendez will come home in 7th after an incredible race for him. Then it's Ryan Power who will come home in 8th, and Scott Hecker, top 10 in the number 72.
And Houghton on that last lap, fast lap of the race. We saw that happen in that first race of the weekend yesterday where he was okay early and then he just came alive. Well, he did it again. And how about for McGrew? Got the opportunity here. Comes in second in the points. Jeremy Swinson heads to the garage. An opportunity here for McGrew. He pounced on it. And I can't say enough about the job Kevin Zhu did up front there. Just really drove a beautiful race.
That was an exceptional job by Kevin Zhu to cling to second place. That is his best finish in GLTC by quite a margin, and that's awesome to see. Here's Lena Chin finishing it out. Good battle there between Saney and Rosenberg. A 1/10 of a second at the stripe between those two.
Yep.
To Saney's advantage. Lena Chin finishes it out, and so do the rest of the field in behind. That was a wild one. And honestly, Greg,
yep,
we ran out of time because we can't do the overage here at the Glen, but man, if we had that extra 3 minutes, it would have really been exciting.
Well, with the speed we were seeing from Coutil, who ran down that lead trio, Walbaum had fastest lap of the race till the last lap. Houghton had fastest lap on the last lap. They were coming, no question about it. And they had a bit of a gap back to Mendez. So, man, I'll tell you what, we could have had potentially a 6-car scrap for the lead over those last couple of laps. But you have to fit the racing in the allowed window. And I'll tell you what, it maybe not have been the longest of the races, but it was entertaining.
It was entertaining. They all were entertaining.
Oh,
this
without
weekend.
a doubt.
Again, racing in the rain, it is certainly a challenge, Greg, but it has been exceptional. Let's have a look at the results here for race number 4 on the weekend and finish things out with Luke McGrew on top again. Second win of the season. Kevin Zhu comes home in second. Emil Tab a podium. Eric Coutil 4th. Matt Waldbaum 5th. And James Houghton 2 wins. I think a 2nd and a 6th. That should do it for the weekend championship, but I don't know quite yet. I haven't seen the numbers. We'll have to see how it pans out.
Yeah.
Colton Wade, how about 11th for Colton Wade?
What a run by Colton. That was a superb job for him. And he's been quicker every race here this weekend as well. And that's my thought was if Houghton could finish right behind Walbaum and they were in the top 10, odds were that was going to get the job done for him. But again, we're just speculating here, and we're announcers, we're not mathematicians.
Definitely not a mathematician. Ben Thorne, 25th in the 166 from Advanced Auto Parts.
And really sad for Ronnie Vidoc, who had that great start. He's passed more cars this weekend. Well, maybe Heckert now is in a run for him, and was up in the top 5, had an absolutely great start from 13th to 5, and then 5th, and then had some sort of an issue out there, and that's going to be a tough one for him because he was poor.
Yeah, we had a whole bunch of cars peel off before the green flag even flew. Pete McPartland, Mike McGinnis, Austin Hurdle, saw Swenson go off. Again, we started the weekend with 48 cars and only 28 came back to the stripe to finish this one. A lot of discretion there from drivers at the tail end of this one. We're going to cling to broadcast here for just another minute and hopefully grab a winner interview here with Luke McGrew before we sign off for the weekend and let the stream team start tearing down. It's wet out there. It took a long time to set this up. It's going to take them a long time to tear it down as the sun starts to set here at Watkins Glen. But hopefully we'll chat with Luke before we can step away.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that stream team. These conditions were as trying as it gets, right? This is a huge facility. To get the coverage we had, and yes, in these last couple of races, we didn't have the coverage we wanted back in the booth, because that's done by a lot of drones, and it's windy out there today with the rain, so that's kind of a limiting factor. But throughout the weekend, what they've been presenting on that stream in terms of the visual elements and the like have been extraordinary. And you can't do anything about rain, you can't do anything about fog. You do the best you can.